Hello all, welcome to this tutorial on timber types and properties. The idea is you watch this, pause this, re-watch this as you see fit and make your own notes on timbers, their characteristics and uses. So just to summarise, there are many types of trees out there, but they all start out in the same way as a baby tree called a sapling, and these are very fragile, so they need protecting. Once that grows and reaches maturity, they can be chopped down, and when you do chop a tree down, you'll see that it will leave this pattern of annual rings. That's because trees grow faster in summer because of the warmth and the moisture. These annual rings are then shown when you convert it into logs. You can actually see the annual rings end up as curvy lines. They're called grain. You also get dark spots in wood, which is a knot, which is where a branch has grown out of the tree. And just for reference, woodworkers generally try and avoid knots because they're considered a defect. They're quite hard, but they can also fall out and they can leave a weak spot in the wood. Just a little extension challenge task. What can you tell from counting the rings? Well, if you counted the rings, that would indicate the number of seasons the tree has gone through because it grows faster in summer. So by counting the rings, you can actually tell the age of a tree. Okay, there are three broad categories of timber. Timber, by the way, is another word for wood. And the two natural types are hardwood and softwood. And then there's a third type, which is a manufactured board. It's important to note that these names reflect the cell structure rather than the strength of the wood. So not all hardwoods are especially hard. A third category is manufactured boards, which are produced in factories, and we'll explore them in a moment. Okay, so what I want you to do is listen and then summarise the key information, and then I'll check in at the end to make sure you've got all the key points. So hardwoods, or deciduous trees, usually have broad leaves that fall in winter. Examples are oak. So you'll see these across Europe, North America, all over the world, and these fat leaves fall down every winter. They have a dense cell structure. Looks like that. This makes them durable and hard-wearing and less prone to rot. They're also considered quite attractive, and this is why they're often used for high-quality furniture. Like that's a unit there. One exception is balsa, which is very soft, and that's used for model making. It's a very soft, lightweight wood, but balsa is still technically a hardwood. Hardwoods are slow growing, taking over to 80 years to grow to reach their full size, and this makes them more expensive. This also means that they're less sustainable because it takes the tree longer to grow back. Many parts of the tropics have been severely damaged by deforestation. Little challenge task, I want you to think, what might be the impacts of deforestation on wildlife and communities? Okay, I would encourage you to pause now, read over the information, summarise the key points in your own text. Okay, I'm going to give you the key points now. So anything highlighted there is something I would have definitely got down, and as a summary of the challenge task there, deforestation could impact wildlife habitats and communities that rely on forests for their livelihood. Okay, next type of timber, softwoods. Again, watch, pause, summarise this key information in your own words. So softwoods, or coniferous trees, have needle-shaped leaves that stay all year. Examples are cedar, pine, and there's another one, and they're common in Scandinavia. Cedar, pine, and spruce, that's it. So a pine tree typically looks like that, looks more like a sort of Christmas tree shape. They have a looser grain structure, looks something like that, than hardwoods, and that makes them more prone to rotting. As a result, adding a protective surface treatment to softwood is important. So it's more important to varnish and to paint softwoods to provide extra protection from rot. Softwoods are faster growing, taking around 25 years to reach full size, and that makes them more sustainable, cheaper and easily available. For these reasons, they're often used in the construction industry. For example, the roof of your house is probably softwood. They are also easier to work with and don't blunt tools as quickly. On the downside, they're not as hard-wearing and they're not as high quality. Your little challenge task here, explain what the climate is like in places where softwoods are common. Again, pause it, summarise it in your own words, and then check. So, here's all the key information I would certainly have down. And the challenge task, softwoods are commonly grown in colder climates. often it can be frozen in winter. So moving on to the third type, manufactured boards. Same process, read, watch, summarise in your own words. So manufactured boards are sheets made of thin layers like plywood, wood fibres, example MDF, or wood chips like chipboard. This makes them cheap. By compressing these together with a resin glue, you get large, consistent and very stable sheets in a variety of thicknesses. They won't warp or twist like natural timbers, and you don't get knots. So there's MDF, like I said, made with compressed wood fibres and resin. Plywood, that's lots of very thin sheets of wood glued together. And chipboard. Okay, their size and consistency also makes them ideal for machining, and that's one reason why they're often used for flat pack furniture. So the type of thing you buy at IKEA and assemble yourself at home. Manufactured boards are ideal because you get large panel sides, and they're very consistent, so you can feed them through machinery and it cuts very precisely without blocking any machines up. However, they're not considered as attractive. One way to improve the appearance is to bond a thin veneer of wood to the surface. You have these things called veneers, very thin pieces of wood. Plywood is actually made of lots of thin layers of veneer stuck together, and by having the alternating grain pattern of plywood, you get excellent strength. Just check in then. Final extension. What do you think would happen if to a manufactured board if it were left outside? Pause it now, get down the key information, and I'll give you the answers now. There's the key points I would certainly have down. And finally, manufactured boards, they're not good outside because they absorb moisture. In the case of MDF or chipboard, they'd swell up, and plywood delaminates, which means plywood would start to peel apart if it got wet. Okay, that's the main points you need to know on timbers, their characteristics and applications. Alright, summarise that in your own words. Best of luck.